Okay, welcome to Viking Country, everybody. My name is Michael Rinaldi, and I am the very proud principal of Westhill High School. Tonight, we are going to do everything we possibly can to answer your questions and help you better prepare for the start of the 2020-2021 school year. We have a number of panelists, and they are comprised of our assistant principal team, our dean of students, our athletic director, and we are all here to be able to answer all of your questions. So we have just some general information, of course, as we always do, about Westhill High School, and then we will get into your questions. Maria?
Yes. Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Estamos aquí para responder sus preguntas y darles alguna información de lo que se llevará a cabo en esta tarde.
Okay, thank you very much. Next slide, Tom. Okay, these are our core values, and this is what we stick to regardless of the circumstances. So Westhill High School values learning because it promotes academic excellence, civic responsibility, and personal growth. Our school encourages students to think creatively, work collaboratively, reason critically, and communicate effectively in order to be prepared for higher education and success in the 21st century. Next, please. And I just realized I didn't let Maria speak. I wonder, you know what, Maria, I think I'm gonna, when we get to the questions, that'll be the more critical kinds of things, I think. And so I'm gonna read the next slide, and we'll take it from there, and I'll do a better job. Beliefs about student learning. All students have opportunities to acquire, analyze, and apply knowledge. All students have opportunities to be creative. And you can see the rest there for yourselves, folks. Maria, if you want to speak a little bit about the last two slides, that would be fine.
Okay. Aquí es en cuanto a lo que creemos sobre el aprendizaje de los estudiantes. Todos los estudiantes tienen oportunidades de analizar y aplicar su conocimiento. Los estudiantes tienen oportunidades de ser creativos. Todos los estudiantes tienen oportunidad de colaborar en el trabajo. De esa manera también todos los estudiantes tienen la oportunidad en cuestión de comunicarse. Okay.
Okay, next please, Tom. All right, this is very important information. Of course, I've already introduced myself. Our 9th grade administrator, hopefully you can see him because he put on a beautiful tie. Mr. Rinaldi, can you please wave to everybody? That's Mr. Peter Rinaldi. We will determine at some point in our careers whether or not we're actually related. And our 10th grade administrator, who could not be with us this evening, is Mr. Robert Ayala. 11th grade administrator is Miss Claudia Obis. Claudia, okay. And our 12th grade administrator this year is Mr. PJ Wax. Our dean of students and controlling everything for us this evening is Mr. Tom Pereira, otherwise known as Super Dean. And our athletic director is Mr. Dick Cerrone, who's not pictured but on the call. Thank you. Next. Okay, so this is the calendar for the students in the hybrid model, and you simply follow the calendar. And when you're in a blue day, the first day of school for all students in the blue group is Tuesday, September 8th, and then all of our students in the green group come to school on September 9th, which is a Wednesday. And then you follow the calendar. If you don't mind, Maria, can you just try to explain the calendar for everybody, please?
Okay. En este calendario, como ustedes ven, hay el color azul y el verde. One second, I just need to grab something.
No worries.
Lo que está marcado con azul será el inicio de escuela, que sería el día 8 de septiembre, y lo que está en verde sería el siguiente día, que sería el miércoles. Esto es para que ustedes identifiquen los días de asistencia.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Okay. Now we're getting into the crux of the issue here. So we obviously have to make sure that we are complying with all of our health department recommendations for a safe environment. And so that means physical distancing. We have to adhere to this in our classrooms, in our common spaces, as our media center, our cafeteria and lobbies, as well as outside areas. Maria?
Sí, aquí presentamos la logística. Esto es en cuanto a la distancia física entre los alumnos, en los salones, en las áreas en común, ¿no? Como es la cafetería, es el área del lobby, de la entrada, las áreas afuera. Esto se mantendrá la distancia física en todas las áreas de la escuela.
Thank you. Next, please, Tom. Masks must be worn by staff and students. It is a requirement. There are, except for documented medical reasons for some of our other students, that is absolutely a necessity, and we need to build a culture of cooperation and safety. It is a district policy, as I've mentioned, and there will be consequences to students, for students, if they do not wear their mask. We will be as understanding as we possibly can, because we all know I sometimes forget to keep it on, and that will happen. But if we do have, unfortunately, if we do happen upon a student or anyone who's just not getting with the program, there will be consequences. Masks must be worn. Maria.
En cuanto a los cubrebocas o las máscaras, estas son indispensables. Todos los estudiantes deberán de traer su cubrebocas. De lo contrario, habrá consecuencia. Esto es un reglamento que se llevará a cabo y si no se cumple, habrá consecuencias.
Thank you very much. Next, please, Tom. Okay, our lunch plan. We will be having our students both in the cafeteria, and we will more than likely have to use some classrooms in order to feed our students. The cafeteria tables, the traditional cafeteria tables, have been removed, and we have student desks spaced 6 feet apart in both of our cafeterias. Students will come into the cafeteria. They will pick up a grab and go lunch, unless they brought their lunch with them. They will sit at those seats at those student desks, have their lunch, and dismiss. It will not be, obviously, the way lunch usually is, where students can just sit wherever they want and talk and be close to their friends. So that is definitely going to be a different process. Thank you. Maria.
Bueno, para la hora del almuerzo se hicieron algunos cambios en la cafetería, se quitaron las mesas que estaban anteriormente y se colocaron otros escritorios. También se van a usar algunos salones. Los jóvenes irán por su lunch y lo recogerán. Ellos no podrán sentarse donde ellos deseen, sino donde se les indique. Si ellos traen su propio almuerzo, entonces ellos se pueden quedar en la cafetería. De lo contrario, se les indicará dónde deben sentarse en esta área.
Thank you very much. Next, please, Tom. Okay, attendance. It is important to understand that attendance is different this year as well. And I'm going to give this quickly over to Mr. Pereira, because he is responsible for attendance at Westhill.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. So yeah, attendance will be done in the traditional sense that we will still document attendance, which is obviously very important for contact tracing. But attendance will only be taken in terms of the face-to-face learning days. So when your student is sitting in front of their teacher, they will be taking attendance. On their away days, obviously the expectation will be whatever work that teachers put up on their Google Classroom, that will kind of act as their attendance for that day. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. We're going to run the same process we did last year with the QR code, because again, we want to cut down on physical papers. So that's going to be all up and running. And then obviously the videos that were put together will also be shared with the students on how to document their attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria.
En cuanto a la asistencia, el estudiante tiene la responsabilidad de tomar sus clases y se le tomará asistencia en cuanto tenga el contacto, la clase con los maestros y algunas otras momentos en el que el estudiante estará en persona, cara a cara con el maestro.
Thank you. Next, please, Tom. Okay. Responding to COVID symptoms, student family responsibilities in an isolation room. Every school in Stanford, including Westhill, will have an isolation room where students who may be feeling symptoms that are any way related to the symptoms that we have learned over these months can be possibly coronavirus, will go to an isolation room, which will be staffed all the time. They will be in that room until their parent is able to come and pick them up. And they will also have a designated restroom to use while they are in the isolation room if they need to use the restroom. Next, sorry, Maria.
Bueno, en cuanto a si algún estudiante tiene síntomas del COVID, se ha asignado un salón específicamente para aislar al alumno. De igual manera, se tiene un baño específicamente para cualquier estudiante que necesite usarlo, pero siempre y cuando manifieste síntomas del COVID y estará acompañado por algún personal, pero se aislará definitivamente de los demás estudiantes.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Claudia. Miss Obis, please.
You will also have a responsibility as a family to, to make sure that your child is not coming in sick. And so I believe on the Stanford website, and we'll probably put it up on our website too, there'll be a checklist for you to go through to assure that, the student is not having any symptoms prior to coming to school.
Thank you, Maria.
Los padres de familia son responsables de asegurarse que si sus hijos tienen algún síntoma del COVID, no deberá mandarlos a la escuela. Y si algún estudiante con estos síntomas asiste a la escuela, se va a aislar, pero ustedes serán responsables de ir por él o por ella. Pero es su responsabilidad estar seguros que sus hijos no están enfermos.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Okay. Staff professional learning prior to student arrival. Please know that our faculty and everyone that works at Westhill is going to be getting extensive training over the course of the next week so that we all understand all of the new guidelines and everything that we have to do to make sure that we maintain a safe environment for our students and teachers. Maria?
Todo el personal del sistema educativo tomará unos cursos para estar al día en cuestión del entrenamiento en cuanto a la tecnología para seguridad de ustedes y también del personal.
Thank you, Tom. Okay. One of the things that we are very cognizant about, and we actually had our first faculty meeting today, is that we're not coming back to school this September in anything of a normal sense. Whenever we come back to school after a summer vacation, we need to take time to make sure we reconnect with students, check just their emotional and social well-being and all of those different things. But now, certainly, that's more important than ever. So please understand, and we're messaging this to our teachers, the first week of school, and because of the hybrid model, it's every other day, we're not getting into the curriculum very quickly. We're going to take at least a week to make sure our students are okay and connecting with staff and that they're comfortable. That's very, very important, and that's what we're going to be concentrating on as we move forward. Maria?
Al regresar a la escuela, ahora en septiembre, no será lo mismo como años anteriores. En la primera semana, los maestros y todo el personal estará más enfocado en sus hijos, en la cuestión emocional, social, para ver pues cómo están, cómo se sienten. Eso será en la primera semana, en lo que se hacen los ajustes necesarios.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to now allow the better dressed Rinaldi to kind of run through the schedule a bit here. Mr. Rinaldi.
So as opposed to previous years, if you've had students in Westhill High School, we've had a rotating schedule where the periods were in a different order each day. With the hybrid schedule, just to simplify things, we're going to run what's called a static 1 through 7. That means that the periods will occur in the same order each and every day, right there in front of you on the screen, with a lunch period during block 5. And we will do the best we can to expedite passing time and get the kids from one class to the other as quickly as possible to minimize contact in the halls. We're looking at ways to maintain our distancing while students change between classes, though that is certainly going to be the biggest challenge area for us because that is where the school gets the most crowded. But we'll be working on figuring out how to make the most efficient and safe passing for the students, and they will follow the schedule that you see here every day.
Thank you, Mr. Rinaldi. Next, please, Tom. Okay, the hybrid model. That's what is happening inside schools. I think we'll just go to the next slide, please. As we mentioned some of this earlier, desks, all classrooms, our custodial staff has been working very hard. They've pulled well over 1,000 desks, student desks, out of classrooms and put them in storage, and then separated the desks that are remaining. In most cases, that's 15 in most of our classrooms, and they are all spaced 6 feet apart. All students must be in assigned seating this year. That's something very new. We went over all of this with our staff today as well. And the assigned seating also helps us to make sure that we are able to contact trace more effectively if that should become necessary. Teachers' workspaces will also have barriers that the district has provided for them. And I like the little quote Mr. Wax came up with. I don't know where he got it, but my dance space, your dance space. So we just have to keep that in mind as we move throughout each day. Maria?
Bueno, anteriormente se vio el horario que los estudiantes estarán llevando, será el mismo horario todos los días, procurando evitar el congestionamiento en los pasillos de la escuela. También se ha designado los escritorios. No podrán cambiar los estudiantes de escritorio, sino que se le ha asignado un escritorio a cada estudiante y estará separado de 6 pies de distancia entre uno y otro. Y los maestros también tienen su área de trabajo, así que todos estarán con una separación o una distancia de 6 pies entre cada estudiante. Y siempre tendrán el mismo asiento asignado, no podrán cambiarse de asiento.
Thank you very much. Next, please, Tom. All right, here's an example. Awesome. Here's what our classrooms are going to look like. And that's pretty much what you're going to see in every classroom. Next, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tom. Keep that there. I forgot to ask Marie to explain. Just that's an example of what our classrooms look like right now.
Padres de familia, así es como se verán de ahora en adelante los salones.
Okay, thank you. Next, please, Tom. And so what's important to know, and I just love this visual here, when we talk about 6 feet apart, the desks are spaced 6 feet apart from the center of the desk, not from the edge. Wonderful visuals. Thank you. Next, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Maria. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. En los 6 pies estarán separados a partir del centro del escritorio, no de la orilla del escritorio, sino del centro.
Thank you. All right, just a little bit more information about the hybrid model. We can move past that. Okay, so this is just some general information about how special ed is going to be delivered this year. And I'm going to ask Ms. Obis, our administrator responsible for special education, to speak a little bit about that.
Good evening, all, and welcome. In terms of special education, of course, the IEP will continue to be implemented. All modifications and accommodations that your son or daughter has been given will continue. But I must express to you that when it comes to the distance learning model, that is a parent choice. And so the modifications and accommodation may not look the same as it's written in the IEP. I've had some conversations already with many other parents to just make sure that everybody understands that. There'll be, of course, communication with teachers weekly, as per usual. And we will continue having PPT meetings, but they will be virtual.
En cuanto a los estudiantes de atención especial, se harán los ajustes necesarios, habrá comunicación con los padres de familia semanalmente, entre los maestros, y se harán los ajustes necesarios para completar y ayudar a estos estudiantes con necesidades especiales.
Thank you very much. Next, please, Tom. Okay, so this is our last slide for now and how to stay informed. We obviously have the Stanford Public Schools website, and that's really important because I know that there are many links on there, and one particular link, which, and maybe this is where I can introduce Ms. De La Flora. I can't remember the link for the email address if you had general questions about everything that's going on, and I'm sorry we didn't include that here. I don't believe we did. Can you speak to that a little bit, Ms. De La Flora?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Olympia De La Flora, the Associate Superintendent for School Development for Stanford Public Schools, and I work directly with Westhill High School. We have an email address. It is spsreopening@stanfordct.gov, and we certainly can have them add that to, it's on our website. If you go to our main page, we have a COVID-19 resource page where we have a lot of this information regarding the reopening. We have a frequently asked questions, which we're regularly updating as questions come into that email address, but you can access that information on our website. But it's spsreopening@stanfordct.gov, and we do have people who can answer in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us tonight as well, Ms. De La Flora. So we all, or not all of us, but some of us have social media accounts, and you see the Twitter accounts on the left. I have learned over the course of 3 years here that the easiest way and the quickest way to put out information through social media is definitely Instagram. It's certainly the platform that students prefer, certainly over Twitter anyway. And so I try pretty hard to inform parents through Instagram. So if you are someone who's on social media and you happen to have Instagram or are willing to get it, I would definitely get on that and follow me at Westhill_principal. All right, so Tom, if you can go to the first slide, because it's a beautiful picture of our students graduating. And what we're going to do at this time is we're going to go into the questions. So a couple of weeks ago, we put out a Google sheet form, I'm sorry, to capture your questions, and we did close it a couple of days ago because we wanted to have enough time to really try to go deep to answer your questions. I'm going to ask Mr. Wax to share those questions, and the panel will do their best to answer them. I'm going to assume in some cases, some of those questions were answered during the first portion of our webinar, and we'll take it from there. And then afterward, we will also go into the chat if somebody can kind of get in there and begin taking a look at that, and we'll try to answer questions that may have come up during the webinar itself. So Mr. Wax, what is the first question?
So we had a number of responses to the form that we put out there. The questions, what we did was we took the questions and the topics and broke them farther down into the topic categories, so we kind of grouped them together. So the questions we had were for schedule. We had questions about the daily hours, such as what are the daily hours of the school going to be? I think we kind of covered that. Questions about changing classes, we covered that as well. Some of the questions about Blue-Green Day. If you are in a green group, what are you doing on September 8th since you're not physically in school? What will the green group do on the first day of school? If the first day of school is 9/8 for the blue group, what will the green group do that day? So that's one question that was thrown out there.
Okay.
We did not quite answer.
Very good. So Maria, I'm going to now, and I'll let you say what the question is first. I'm going to speak a little bit more about the green group and the blue group and what students are doing, especially at the very beginning on September 8th and September 9th.
Okay.
Okay, so you want me to just go ahead? I'm sorry. Okay, so here's the reality, and Ms. De La Flor will correct me if that's changed. So the first day of school is September 8th, but that
El
is
primer día de escuela es el día 8 de septiembre.
That is just for the students in the blue group.
Eso solamente es para los alumnos en azul.
The students in the green group will be home on September 8th.
Los alumnos en el color verde estarán en casa.
And their first day of school will be Wednesday, September 9th.
Y su primer día de clase será el día de septiembre 9.
So to answer the specific question, what are students in the green group doing on September 8th when the students in the blue group are going to school? They're getting their notebooks ready and preparing to come to school on September 9th. That's the way it's going to be. So once we have the first 2 days of school, everybody will be in the rotation.
Una vez que tengamos los 2 primeros días de clase, después será la rotación.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Mr. Wax.
Will WHS students still have the opportunity to change schedules in the beginning of the school year? When will student class schedules be available, and how and when can they make changes to their schedule?
Okay, so I'm going to let Mr. Rinaldi speak to this a little bit. It's very important, and I'm going to help you out as well, Pete, but I just want you to be able to really break it down.
Okay, so I believe, and Ms. De La Flor will correct me if I'm wrong, but the Power School portal should be opening, I believe, September 2nd or so. And that would be where you can, if you have an account, you can log in, you can see your students' classes, you can confirm that they're in the blue or green group. It's the first thing. I don't know if Ms. Romero wants to translate.
En el primer, en cuanto al Power School, que cada uno de ustedes tienen acceso, ahí van a poder observar la clase, el salón y el día específicamente en el que ustedes asistirán.
Okay. So for class changes, are going to be more difficult this year than they have in past years. You know, the schedule.
El cambio de clases de una clase a otra será un poco más difícil este año.
So because of the nature of the hybrid schedule and splitting the students into two cohorts alphabetically, it's not going to give us quite as much flexibility in our ability to move students between classes. Certainly, we're going to prioritize students who have the wrong class or they have a hole in their schedule, a class didn't get put in. We're going to fix those right away. I think as far as elective changes and other changes like that, they're going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think we would do our best to accommodate those, but not until we've first made sure that everybody has the correct core class and that everybody has the correct number of classes. I think changes are going to be done a little bit differently through guidance, to the best of my understanding. No longer can students just show up at their guidance counselor's office and form a big line around the door and kind of wait as we work through all the schedule changes. It's going to be much like many things now, an online form that student will submit to their counselor, letting them know, the student or the parent would submit, letting them know what the mistake is. The counselor will then look at that, look at the student's schedule, call the student down to speak to them and work one-on-one to make the requisite changes.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Maria.
Habrá bastantes cambios en cuestión de cómo van a dirigirse los estudiantes a sus clases. También habrá una forma en la que ustedes tendrán que llenar. No podrán presentarse ante su cónsul haciendo filas, aglomamiento, sino que tendrá todo que llevar un orden y todo se hará según les estén indicando a cada uno.
Thank you. Ms. Obis?
In addition, communication should have gone out to all the students that, counselors are taking appointments. You can't just show up at your counselor's door. Passes will not be given to see the counselor. So you have to make an appointment. So make sure that your child knows this, as well as parents. If you're coming in, you must call in for an appointment. In terms of meeting with a guidance counselor.
En cuanto a su guía, su consular, no pueden llegar y simplemente aparecerse, sino que tienen que hacer citas. Si los padres necesitan ir a la escuela, deberán hacer una cita por teléfono y sus hijos tendrán también el deber de comunicarse con su cónsul, el que los guía, para hacer una cita. No pueden solamente llegar y aparecerse. Hay que hacer citas porque se tiene que llevar un orden y las precauciones necesarias.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, Mr. Wax.
If I were to choose the hybrid learning, then change my mind or vice versa, how would that work and is that okay?
Okay, so yes, it is, but there are a couple of conditions and expectations around that. And if you don't mind, Ms. Della Flora, could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, I would love to speak to that as I am managing those forms.
Awesome.
So it will probably be live at some point tonight when I get it onto the website. We will have a change of educational model form, and it's very similar to the return to learn form, and you'll just identify your name and that you are requesting to switch to either the hybrid model or the distance teaching and learning. But we are telling families that in our timeline, we think it could take up to 7 to 10 days at the most. It may be sooner, maybe less, because we will have to make sure that scheduling is in place. And if there are students who may need transportation, or if your child or student is receiving special services, we want to make sure that we have enough time to get those things in place. So, Maria.
Se les va a enviar también, se va a colocar una información donde ahí se verá si sus hijos necesitan transporte, si necesitan alguna atención especial para que ustedes puedan llenar esos formatos para cubrir cada una de las necesidades de sus hijos. Tardará de 7 a 10 días.
Thank you, Mr. Wax.
So next question is, topic is attendance. We have a question is, will we be penalized if we stay home to do online school for the first month?
So if I understand the question accurately, right? And so if you are in the distance teaching and learning academy, that sounds like what someone is saying, for a month, and then somehow you change over to hybrid, and that's what you wanted to do, no, you will not be penalized. That's assuming, of course, you're doing your work in the distance teaching and learning academy. But you don't get, you're not going to be penalized in any way, shape, or form because you wanted to switch, if that's the general question.
Si el estudiante quiere hacer algún cambio, no será penalizado. Simplemente deberá continuar atendiendo a sus clases y cumpliendo con su deber, pero no será penalizado si quiere cambiar, ya sea asistiendo a la escuela o por el otro método híbrido.
Pero tiene que hacer su trabajo. Oh! All right, thank you, Mr. Wax. Next question.
All right, next category was lunch. Basically, people want to know where the ninth graders are going to be eating, where students would be eating, and what the protocols would be for the cafeteria, which we covered.
We covered that.
Next topic was safety. Masks. Do students need to wear masks? We covered that.
Let me emphasize that a little bit, because as we told our faculty today, we were going to emphasize it. Look, check it out. I'm speaking to the students that are on the line. I'm changing my approach a little bit. Here are some examples of masks. Here's our Westhill mask, by the way, which you can purchase online. More to come on that. Here's a mask we have that the RISE folks put together. Oh, go ahead, Miss Della Flora. Here is a Westhill mask. Sorry, you can't have this one. Somebody made it for me. Whatever, it was a gift. And we also have, I want to show you this. This is a mask that Miss Della Flora bought for all her principals she's responsible for. How about that? And you know what? They're all over the place. You know you have a bunch of them. You need to wear it every day. But just in case you forget, every classroom's going to have masks. And if you forget your stylish mask, like the beautiful mask Ms. Della Flora is wearing, you need to put on the mask that the teacher will provide for you in your classroom. Now, obviously, I was speaking as if I was speaking to kids. So that's for you, kids. Thank you. Next question, Mr. Wax. Oh, I'm sorry, poor Maria. Maria, just let everybody know, masks are no exception. You don't have to follow other nonsense.
Las máscaras o los cubrebocas son indispensables, necesarios, obligatorios, y si se les olvida, la escuela les proveerá uno, pero deben usar su cubrebocas.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wax, go ahead.
Can I add one thing?
Go ahead. Yes.
I just want to add that it's going to be very tempting to do things like this and to do things like this.
And the one ear hang,
You have like this. But it's really important that you have your mouth and your nose covered in order for it to be effective. So I just want to point that out. I catch myself doing it too, but I know it's going to be really hard once we start school. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Awesome demonstration. Mr. Wax.
So that kind of segues to the next question of the concerns about the reports coming out saying that gaiters and bandanas are not effective at all, that other districts have banned wearing gaiters. Are we going to allow gaiters knowing that they're not effective, and that there's a question about the PTO selling gaiters?
Okay, excellent. I'm so glad that's one of the questions. And so, yeah, I actually promoted both the mask and the gaiter on my Instagram when the PTO wonderfully got all that stuff for us. No more gaiters. No more gaiters. So we're not even selling them anymore. And so gaiters aren't acceptable. Neither are just the handkerchief. It needs to be a cloth mask. If you have an N95, you can certainly wear that, or one of the, what I think we see what Mr. Pereira is doing. He looks kind of special too there, but not that. And so, and what we see most often are the standard, they're kind of blue, those masks, but no gaiters, no handkerchiefs. Mr. Wax. Oh, sorry, Maria.
Solamente serán los cubrebocas que se les indicaron de tela, los que deban usar los estudiantes, y así como la señorita Delia Flora mostró que hay tendencia a colocarlo debajo de la quijada o en la cabeza o debajo de la nariz. No, siempre debe estar el cubreboca cubriendo nariz y boca todo el tiempo. Y no se podrán usar los cubrebocas de los otros como desechables, tienen que ser de tela.
So one of the things that I really appreciate is a team that makes sure that I'm on point. And see, Miss Obis is smiling because she's sending me text messages. And I want to address two things that might not be in the questions right now and just get it out of the way. No visitors are allowed in the building during the school day.
No se admiten visitas durante el día en el horario escolar. No hay visitas.
There will be no exceptions. And
No hay
so
excepciones.
if you need to be here for any reason, you're going to need to email first.
Si tiene que ir a la escuela, debe usted mandar un correo electrónico antes.
And you can, of course, email the person you like to speak with. Maria?
Puede enviar un correo a la persona con la que usted desea hablar, pero no puede presentarse a la escuela sin previa cita o previo aviso.
And we will continue to utilize our Westhill appointments email address as well.
Ahí le tendrán una sección donde vendrá el horario y toda la información necesaria.
Thank you. Another thing that we want to reiterate, which has been the rule for a long time, you're not dropping off lunch. So we have food, and even if a student doesn't have an account or doesn't have money, we'll make sure that they're fed. So you can't drop off lunch. Please make sure your children have their lunch when they leave if they're bringing lunch to school. And hey, kids, 11th graders and 12th graders in particular, you were never allowed to just leave campus, and you're not allowed to leave campus now, even more so. So no going out to the senior lot or the junior lot to sit in your car during lunch, none of that. And it was always important, but far more important now because of contact tracing. No leaving the campus at all. Maria.
Bueno, si a su hijo usted le preparó comida y a su hijo se le olvidó en casa, usted no podrá llevárselo. La escuela tiene suficiente comida, ahí le darán el alimento, pero usted no puede presentarse a la escuela diciendo que a su hijo se le olvidó su comida. Los estudiantes tampoco podrán abandonar la escuela si se salían, que no debían, pero por la cuestión de la distancia está prohibido que los alumnos salgan del edificio escolar.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Wax, next question, please.
So next section is on cleaning. Do we have enough people to clean the classrooms? Who's cleaning desks before each class? It appears as though more frequent cleaning will be needed than was needed in the past. Will there be more custodians or less? And what is the schedule for bus sanitation?
Okay, very good. So the final list of protocols for cleaning are still pending, but here's what we know now. Every single restroom, first of all, in the building is going to be cleaned twice a day. That's once during the school day after school begins and once at the end of the day. Every floor surface everywhere is going to be swept and mopped, not just classrooms, but hallways and everything else. Now, when students move from class to class, desks will not be cleaned by custodians or anyone else, except that wipes will be available in every classroom. And so when students enter a classroom, there will be ample wipes, and we are encouraging the students to wipe down their area.
Los baños serán desinfectados 2 veces al día, los pasillos también, todo será desinfectado. Los escritorios, el estudiante se encargará de desinfectarlo cada uno, su propio escritorio. Los custodios no van a limpiar los escritorios. Terminando la clase, ustedes desinfectan su escritorio. Habrá el material, las toallitas necesarias para que ustedes lo hagan. Ese será el protocolo que se llevará en cuanto a la limpieza y desinfección.
All of this is very, very important. And just know that we're going to make sure we adhere to all of it. And the district will provide whatever we need to make sure it happens.
Todo esto es muy importante y el distrito proporcionará todo para que se lleve a cabo.
Mr. Rinaldi?
I just wanted to add quickly that we've overcome a technical difficulty, and I believe the chat should be open now for people out in the audience to be able to ask questions, and we'll either be able to answer them tonight or, you know, archive them for a future session.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Wax. Oh, I'm sorry, Maria, can you explain that the chat is now open? I'm sorry.
Oh, en este momento se abre el micrófono para conversar, para cualquier pregunta que ustedes tengan.
Thank you. Mr. Wax?
So next questions are about physical distancing. Will students be allowed to hang out in their vehicles during the school day? Obviously, the answer is no, we cannot contact trace. How will social distancing be handled in the courtyard? Will there be someone keeping an eye on the students? And how are we going to maintain safety with students switching classes if students are in the hallways?
Okay, so we won't be, in no way, shape, or form, we're going to be using our courtyard the way our students are used to. And so for freshmen, if you don't know, during lunch, we often, after a period of time in the cafeteria, allow students to go outside and congregate and get some sunshine and some fresh air, which is a big part of what we can take advantage of because we have the courtyard. If we use the courtyard at all, and we're still trying to decide on this, social distancing is going to be where it's at. So check this out. We may be putting down chalk circles all over the courtyard, if we use the courtyard, where you could come outside and stand, and you can safely, from 6 feet apart, talk to your friend. But you will not be allowed to use the courtyard the way you have in the past. And then, Maria, if you explain that, I will answer the other question about moving through the halls.
Ok. La yarda que anteriormente los jóvenes se iban para estar con sus amigos, tomar un poco de sol, no será así. Ellos pondrán, si se usa esa área, algunas barreras para que estén manteniendo aún allá afuera la distancia de 6 pies con sus amigos.
Thank you. And so now moving through the hall, as of about a couple of hours ago, we were assuming we were going to split the hallway down the middle and put traffic arrows on each side so students always are walking on the right side of the hallway. Breaking news, we may be able to have one-way traffic. That has not been assured yet. We're going to troubleshoot this tomorrow and figure it out. But suffice to say, either way, students need to move through the hallway and have the self-discipline to continue to practice social distancing and move to their classroom, their next class, as quickly as possible. School administration and our security staff will be in the hallway moving kids along. And it's very important, as we mentioned in another slide earlier, that we create a culture of cooperation to be able to do this effectively. Maria.
Necesitamos la cooperación de todos los jóvenes una vez que salen de su clase para ir a otro salón, manteniendo la distancia, y se van a colocar señalamientos posiblemente para hacer la vía de una sola vía para evitar el aglomeramiento, pero eso no se ha especificado aún todavía, pero se está trabajando en ello. Pero sí necesitamos la colaboración, y habrá el staff o los miembros de la escuela y los custodias vigilando para agilitar el tráfico entre los estudiantes.
Thank you. And this just in, and I'm putting her out there because I really appreciate her. Our PTO co-president, Judy Klim, just texted me to tell me that in the chat, they are having difficulty typing in a question. So I don't know what the technical issue is there, but you can see Ms. Delaflora is already jumping all over that to figure that out. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Klim. And by the way, you definitely want to get involved with our PTO. She'll let you know about that in a future email or something. So thank you, Ms. Klim. Mr. Wax, oh, I'm sorry, Maria, we just inform everyone that we are trying to fix the chat so that everybody can get in there.
Bueno, se nos notificó que están teniendo dificultad para hacer algunas preguntas por medio del chat, pero ya están viendo de qué manera los pueden ayudar.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wax?
Next category was testing positive. How will parents be notified if there is a person or a student or staff member test positive? There is an understanding that that person could have been positive for contagious for days. What is the criteria for quarantine, isolation, so that a positive test be received, that a test be performed as receipt of positive test, ending up being several days after the test? What precautions will be taken so that people are informed and we know?
Okay, so that's a very, very important question, and it's a very well thought out and comprehensive question. What we are to do is when we believe a student is even possibly affected with the coronavirus, as I mentioned earlier, they go to the isolation room. Our nursing staff is informed immediately. I'm informed immediately, and I also inform our Stanford healthcare. It's Pat Caldwell. I'm forgetting the title, but our lead person in the health department, and then everything then branches off and depends, right? And so I don't have much more information about that because it's all over the place. And Olympia, if you can maybe speak to that just a little bit, because I know I haven't satisfied the person who asked the question at all.
Yes, actually.
I'm sorry. I just would like to say that si hay sospecha de que algún estudiante está infectado con el COVID, entonces, como se les dijo anteriormente, se aislarán, se le notificará a la enfermera, se le notificará al director y se hará todo lo necesario para hacer los ajustes necesarios en este caso.
So just to add to what Mr. Rinaldi just shared, we actually recorded a health webinar that addresses what would happen in this case. And we have our health professionals from the City of Stanford Health Department. If you go to our YouTube page, we now have a Stanford Public Schools YouTube page, and you can find that health webinar there. It has some very good information that's very detailed that will help address those questions, as well as the FAQ on the COVID-19 resource page. So all of the parent pop-up webinars that we've done are on that YouTube page. So check it out. And if you have questions after that, after watching that, you can always send your questions to that SPS reopening, and we will try our best to get an answer for you. But really, each case we have to take individually. So we have a plan in place that if there is a student or a staff member who tests positive, then they would report that to the school nurse, and then they will begin their process of doing a risk assessment and determine what needs to happen from there. But it really will be determined on a case-by-case basis. But I highly encourage you to check out our YouTube page and look at that health webinar.
And what's the name of the YouTube page again, Ms. Delflora?
Stanford Public Schools YouTube.
You can't forget that. Stanford Public Schools YouTube. All right,
Sorry,
thank you.
Maria, I know that was a lot, but maybe if we just, you know, we did have that translated into Spanish too.
Okay,
Hay una página de YouTube donde ahí les informarán y estará detallado si sucede algún caso, el procedimiento de alguien contagiado. También está en español, es Stanford Public Schools, en YouTube, donde ustedes puedan ver la información.
Thank you, Maria. So as we are trying to fix the chat, Ms. Klim is also serving as some kind of chat. So she's getting questions, and as she gets them, she's texting them to me. First question was, or the next question was, will students be able and allowed to drive to school? The answer is yes. Get ready for information that's coming out about that, possibly tomorrow, at the very latest Monday. I don't want to share more than that, only because we would take too much time, but all that's coming out very, very shortly. And the next question was, are kids dialing into the classroom? The answer is no. And how are we going to handle a 50% reduction in teaching? What are they doing on their off days? Okay, so the curriculum is going to be adjusted, of course, because as you know, students are only going to be in school in the hybrid model every other day. Now they are going to be receiving assignments from their teachers to do on their off day. Some of the adjustments to the reduction in the actual instruction that will be going on are, the latest are, there will be no midterms and there will be no finals. So students aren't taking midterms and finals anymore. That being said, every effort is going to be made to get through the curriculum. I hope that answers that question. Next question. Judy's.
Can I suggest, Mike? Can I suggest we hold off because we have some of these questions that are popping up on that chat in the pre questions that we have.
Okay. So let Maria, I know I just went super fast there. I'm getting too fired up. I have to calm myself down. If you could just kind of explain the last thing I said.
Ok, solamente para decirles que dentro del currículum de estudio se harán ajustes, habrá instrucciones y no habrá, parece que exámenes, sino que todo será completar las tareas que se les asignen durante los días, y también tendrán tareas para hacerlas los días que no estén en la escuela.
All right, thank you. Let's go back into the chat a little bit, Mr. Wax, or excuse me, either the questions that were submitted. Did we get through all of those yet? Okay, go ahead. I'm sure.
Quite a few.
All right, so any way you want to slice it, Mr. Wax, let's go.
So let's go to ventilation was one of the next questions under safety. During a webinar with Superintendent Lucero, she explained that upgrades were made to the ventilation system. She mentioned upgrades were made to classrooms and restrooms. Can we elaborate on exactly what upgrades were performed?
Okay, so I can certainly speak from firsthand experience, just all spring and all summer long. Work on the ventilation system has occurred all throughout this time, and it is much approved. So I don't know, what was the last part of that question, PJ?
Could you elaborate on what exactly the upgrades were that were performed?
I can't do that. And I trust, I don't think Ms. Della Flora can either. What I am hoping for is, and I emailed this gentleman today, I've reached out to a representative from SAMG to give me more clarity on the state of our ventilation system. And once I have that, I can share that. I'm sharing that with our faculty, and I will be happy to share that with our parents as well. Maria?
Una de las cosas que se han actualizado es el sistema de ventilación, aunque aún hay unos detalles pendientes por cubrir.
Okay, Mr. Wax.
So, a question about accountability. What will the accountability be for students who do not participate in remote learning?
They will get really bad grades.
Los estudiantes que no participen a distancia tendrán pues muy malas calificaciones.
Very professional, technical kind of response. Next question.
So next topic was lesson completion. For the hybrid model, will the same lesson be taught on the same day? If so, will a student be able to participate virtually in his home day for extra help? If not, will students be required to participate virtually during their home day?
Okay, so let's tackle the last part first. We had hoped to be able to have live streaming of lessons from our classrooms for students on their off day. Unfortunately, the technology challenges are too great to surmount, and we will not be able to do that. And so students will be given assignments to take home and do on their off day. And then the first part of that question was what, PJ, again?
For the hybrid model, will the same lesson be taught on the same day?
Right. And so no one's going to miss out. Whatever the teacher is teaching, let's just start with September 8th. Whatever happens with the blue group on September 8th is going to happen with the green group on September 9th. And that's the way it's going to be.
Lo que suceda en el día 8 con el grupo azul, en cuanto a la clase, lo que se exponga ese día, así será para el grupo 9, que el día 9, el grupo verde, deberán de lo que aprendan ese día y se exponga, eso será lo que se lleve a cabo, y si hay tareas, ustedes lo harán por su cuenta.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Wax.
Teacher availability. Will teachers be available for questions from students and parents via city email address or another medium? What is the expected response time? And if a student needs extra help, he or she historically has scheduled time with the teacher after school. What will that process look like this year?
Okay, so certainly parents will continue to reach out to individual teachers by way of email. And the expectation is that the teachers, all of us, not just teachers, but administrators and everybody else, respond unless there's an extreme circumstances, within 24 hours. Now, with that said, I certainly have received more emails, not to mention messages on Instagram, in the last X number of weeks than I ever have in my life. And I do my best, but guess what? I haven't been able to keep my within 24-hour standard bar for myself. And so we have to be sensitive to the fact that parents are going to be reaching out more than ever. And so where our expectations are that we respond to parents as quickly as possible, that 24-hour thing might be difficult. And I think we have to be understanding of that. But we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can, as quickly as we can. Maria?
Ok. Los maestros que estarán disponibles si se necesita ayuda, se hará pues lo posible. De lo contrario, pues también ustedes pueden enviar los correos. El principal ha recibido bastantes correos con muchas preguntas. No ha podido contestar todo, pero harán lo posible para cuando usted escriba al maestro algún mensaje, tratar de contestarlo en 24 horas a más tardar, pero les pedimos que sean pacientes y que entiendan que pues hay muchas personas con muchas preguntas, con muchas dudas y cuestiones, entonces les pedimos que por favor sean pacientes, escriba su mensaje y sean pacientes y entiendan que estamos ahorita en un tiempo de hacer muchos ajustes en diferentes áreas.
Once again, Ms. Obis with the support to her principal. One of the things that we didn't mention earlier is that a lot of the training teachers are getting over the next week or so is around Google Classroom. And so everybody now is going to be using that, and that will definitely help with the communication as well, because assignments will be posted and you'll be able to interact that way as well. Mr. Pereira has something to add there too. Go.
And just to on that too, Power School is going to be obviously very, very important. So you're going to want to reach out to your student's counselor to make sure that you have the parent portal for Power School to make sure you're on top of a student's attendance, as well as their grades, the assignments as well. So that's another platform that's going to be very helpful as we move to this hybrid learning.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Sí, habrá el Power School para los papás, donde se les mencionará o informará, tendrán acceso al horario, a las faltas, a todo el récord de sus hijos, y también el personal está haciendo ahorita por 7 días, va a ser entrenado con el programa de Google Classroom, donde ahí se manifestará y cómo dar la clase, las tareas, está todo diseñado para poder hacer más fácil el trabajo para todos.
Thank you. Mr. Wex.
So the question about strong communication between teachers and parents, and that when kids and parents have an issue with teachers who are not teaching, who should they reach out to in order to get that resolved?
Good question. So if you have any questions and concerns in that area at all, you should always reach out to the department head first. And all of this information is on our website. And so there's a department head for every single department. And then the next step after that would be your grade administrator. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. Maria.
I'm sorry, I didn't, what was the department of?
So the question was about if parents have concerns about the teaching of a particular teacher or their ability to get responses or whatever the issue is. When parents have concerns regarding a particular teacher, what should they do? And the answer is they should email the department head first. And we have a department head for every department. And all of this information is on our website. And then the next step would be their child's grade level administrator.
Okay. Si tienen alguna pregunta referente para algún maestro, deberán recurrir a la página web donde ustedes pueden enviar sus preguntas a ellos directamente.
Thank you. Mr. Wex.
Next set of questions revolve around the Agri-science program. Will the SAE supervised agricultural experience volunteer hours be waived for this year? How are the Ag-Sci electives going to work within the hybrid model? What is happening with Ag-Sci this year? And if you are a ninth grader in Ag-Sci, can you still participate in the program through Distance Learning Academy?
Okay, so I'm going to take the last part of that first. And now if you are, we were working on this week actually. If you are in the Distance Teaching and Learning Academy, you will be able to continue to participate in the Agri-science program. The exact way that's going to be delivered and the courses that are going to be offered, I'm not exactly sure yet. We're figuring that out. Regarding the other parts of those questions, I'm going to recommend to that person or anyone who has specific questions about the Agri-science program to email. Get ready now, everybody write this down. You're going to email Virginia Cipolla, so that's V as in Virginia, CIPOLA at stanfordct.gov, and you can certainly CC your grade level administrator. You can CC me, and she will be able to answer for you those specific questions regarding that program. Once again, our Agri-science lead is Virginia Cipolla, and that's VCIPOLA at stanfordct.gov. And Mr. Rinaldi is going to add.
I just wanted to add that I know that a lot of parents of Agri-science students are anxious for answers, even more so than other groups for a lot of reasons. And I just want to let everyone know it's a tricky problem and it's a tough problem to solve. The nature of Agri-science makes some of these things a little bit more difficult, but we are working hard on it, and we have committed to offering Agri-science in all of the different forms of learning, both in the hybrid and in the full distance model. And we're just making sure that we can put forth the best plan to do both of those things. So we're working very hard on figuring out what that's going to be.
You know what? Before we go any further, because the man is here and I appreciate him. Well, you know I'm talking about you, Mr. Cerrone. Do you want to just give a quick overview regarding sports and where all that stands right now? Unmute, sir. You're muted, buddy. You're still muted, I think. No, you're not muted. You know what? You know what? I'm sorry I put you out there. I think maybe what happened was we didn't remember to. I don't even want to see you now tomorrow. I'm so embarrassed. I think maybe we forgot to make you a presenter, and I put you out there. So to
No, he's
all.
listed as a panelist. It's something on his end.
Okay, you are listed there.
We'll try to get it fixed.
All right, very good. So hopefully we'll have some news on sports before we end, and we'll try to get that done. Mr. Wax, next question, please.
So the next set of questions deal with the Distance Teaching and Learning Academy. Basically, people are looking to figure out how it works. How's attendance going to be taken during remote learning? Will the students be working from home every day or only 2 to 3 days a week? And then there's the staffing issues that surround that as well. Will they have access to a Westhill counselor? How are those remote classes going to be taught? And will there be streaming of those classes for those students?
Okay, I'm going to give this entirely over to Ms. Della Flora.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening because I'm trying to figure out with Dick, so you'll have to repeat the question.
I'm so sorry. So the
Sorry.
question is really all things distance teaching and learning academy. How does it work? Will students still have a Westhill counselor? PJ, what am I missing?
How will it work? How is attendance going to be taken? Will the students be working in the DLTA daily, or will they be going 2 to 3 days a week? Will they have access to counselors? And how the remote class is going to be taught?
Okay, I certainly do not have all the answers to those questions. I will say that we are going to hold a webinar for parents and students who are going to be attending the Distance Teaching and Learning Academy at some point. I'm guessing it's going to be next week to help get some of these questions addressed. We are still working on scheduling students. We just got all of the return to learn forms and we're finalizing blue and green groups. And we also still have some families that have changed their mind and would like to switch either to the hybrid or to the distance teaching and learning. So we feel that it's probably best for us to do one of those webinars. I will also bring your attention back to our COVID-19 resource page. On the website, we have a side-by-side model in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole that gives the differences between the hybrid and the teaching and learning. And yes, students will have access to counselors.
Thank you. Yep. Bye-bye. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. Did I step on you, Olympia? Okay. So I was trying to text him to alert him. I understand that Super Dean Pereira has somehow fixed AD Cerrone's situation there. So
Maria didn't get to
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Stepped on myself. Maria.
For distance teaching and learning.
Bueno, aún el personal del sistema educativo están organizando a los estudiantes en cuanto al grupo azul o verde. También hay muchas preguntas en que cómo es que van a tener acceso al cónsulo, en cuestión cómo se va a llevar a cabo la asistencia, cómo funciona este sistema, ¿no? Del híbrido o de la distancia. Entonces, en todo esto se está trabajando y se va a llevar a cabo un webinar donde ustedes podrán tener con mayor claridad de entendimiento acerca de el proceso de todos estos detalles.
Okay. So, Coach, I don't know if you saw my text, but I think your technical difficulties have been solved. So can you just give an overview on sports for us?
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
There we go. Athletics, we are actually 2 days away from the start of our current version of our preseason, starting on Saturday the 29th. If you are interested in playing a fall sport and you have not yet registered, you need to go to the athletics website, which is pretty simple, easy to remember, westhillathletics.org. All of the information is on there. We will be opening our final fall registration tomorrow morning. I think it's scheduled to come on at 7. So anytime after that, you can go in, go through the registration process. All the steps that you need to take regarding a physical and a medical card are also on that site. And then the first day's practice schedule is also listed on the site. If you have signed up, we are really anticipating and looking forward to seeing all you guys back on Saturday because it has been a while.
Thank you very much.
Para todos los jóvenes que son atletas, deportistas, a partir de mañana a las 7 de la mañana pueden registrarse en lo que es la registración para el otoño. Esto es en la sección de deportes.
Okay, next question, Mr. Wax. Thank you, Maria.
Next group is about technology. Basically, how often will Parent Portal be updated? And then how will I get my child a Chromebook if they need one?
Okay, so the parent portal will I don't believe, and Olympia, please correct me if I'm wrong. The updates on the parent portal are going to, the expectations I believe are what they
Every 24 hours, every night they update.
Okay,
once a day.
very good. And so let's talk about technology and Chromebooks, or more specifically, laptops. You may have heard the Dalio Foundation has donated over approximately 2,500 laptops, brand new Dell laptops, to both Westhill and Stanford High School. And we are in the process right now of getting them ready for distribution. And we will, at the very latest, the week of September 14th, be distributing our laptops to our students. We're going to make every attempt that we can to get this done, possibly even sooner than that, but hang in there. And once school starts, we're going to have a laptop in everybody's hand inside a week. So that's the plan. Next question.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Maria.
Maria.
I'm sorry.
Bueno, se está también tendrán disponible el Chromebooks en cuestión del portal. Se actualiza cada 20 horas y todo estará distribuido, también las laptops, todo para que esté en orden y listo una vez que comiencen los estudiantes.
Okay. Now, you know how if you watch any kind of sport, and you know how, like, when it starts getting down to the last few minutes, it gets a little frantic. So I'm going to try to just kind of rapid fire some questions. I've got all kinds of people texting me now, so this, I'm not going to put you out there. You know who you are. This is a question about, I'm going to read it. If we miss the deadline to fill out the return to learn form, how do we submit our choice between in-person or distance learning? Here's the deal. For everyone who didn't fill out the form in time, your child was automatically put in the hybrid model. Okay. If that is not what, and the schedules are going out Friday night or Saturday, so you'll not the schedule. I'm sorry. Well, wait a minute, Claudia. We're going to let them know what group they're in, right? Or they know what group they're in because we put that information out already. So if your last name begins with A through L, I think it was L-E-P. If your last name begins with A through L-E, you are in the blue group. And if your last name begins with, what was the next? I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me.
I think it's L-I.
L-I, thank you. L-I through Z, you are in the green group. And that's automatic if you didn't fill out the return to learn form. If you want to be in distance learning, I would recommend just email me. Email me, and I'll take it from there.
And
Okay.
And the schedules and schedule and the letter with all that explanation will be out next week.
Next week. Thank you. Okay, I hope I answered that question. Maria.
La semana que entra se les mandará una carta con toda esta información. Si su apellido comienza con la A y termina con LE, es el grupo azul. Si su apellido comienza con la LI y termina en Z, es el grupo verde. Si ustedes no han terminado su registración o de hacerla, ya automáticamente su hijo está inscrito, solamente que si usted quiere que su hijo aprenda a distancia, entonces tendrá que mandarle un correo electrónico al director.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wax is informed me we still have about 20 questions or so. What we're going to do is try to kind of pick out the most burning of the bunch. I know everybody's own question is important to them, but that's what we're going to do in the few minutes we have left. Mr. Wax.
So SATs, will there be an SAT school day in September or October so seniors will have the chance to test? And then will the SAT be administered in the spring? And is there a public school taxpayer funded SAT for students? Do you want me to just take this one?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
So yes, there is an SAT day scheduled for September 23rd, but the window for that was sent out over the summer. We have students that will be taking that. If you did not register for that SAT, the state has provided us with codes for students to take the SAT for free on any weekend offering. All you need to do is email the counselor, they can give you the code, or you can email me and I can get you a code.
Awesome. Thank you. Maria?
Ok, para aquellas personas que no se registraron para el SAT, podrán enviarle a... Is this with PJ Wack?
Ustedes pueden enviarle por correo al consejero o a mí, por favor.
Okay.
Also, it should be noted that the state has waived the SAT test requirement for seniors. Los estudiantes que no tomaron el SAT durante la primavera, ellos no tienen que tomarlo. El estado no tiene un requisito para graduación por eso.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mr. Wax, outstanding. Next question.
Next question, we're dealt with senior parking and athletics. I think we covered those. So you can, whatever you can squeeze in from the chat room, you can go for.
All right, just give me one more. Mr. Pereira, go ahead quickly.
Just letting you know, you got a minute and a half left. So.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up right now. Here's what I'm going to say as we wrap up. And I want to finish before it goes black. We're here to help. We're here to support you. We know that we haven't answered all your questions. We are doing the very best we can, working around the clock, and so is Miss LaFleur right there in the corner, or definitely the bottom corner of my screen here. You have access to us via email. You can message me, and we will just continue to crush it every day for you. We thank you for joining us this evening, and we honestly look forward to a wonderful school year. We're going to make it happen. That's how we do it at Westhill. So, you know, go Hill. Peace, boom, all of that. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, parents. Thank you, students. And thank you, panelists, because you're awesome. And that is it. I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Olympia. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, y ahora él va cerrando.